Chapter 3. Raves and Rants. This time, he entered through the front gates of St. Mary's Cemetery. Because, hey, there's nothing strange about a young kid walking through the graves at night, right? By the time he arrived, it was already crowded. A bunch of kids gathered around his crypt, and exactly as he feared, he recognized less than half of them. Oh, and one more thing. Loud music. That noise level in this small town, he wondered, how come the Westwick police aren't here already? He was looking around at the debauchery. Ugh, here it comes, he thought, that weird feeling that a bubble is forming around him. He's watching the events like they're on a high-def television instead of real life. Usually, that's when the voice kicks in. Some would call it a conscience, but he called it, well, actually named it, Aunt Ida. Why Aunt Ida? Because it was the all-knowing voice of the wise old auntie he never had. Aunt Ida was always appearing when Alex was doing something wrong or dangerous or even remotely risky. Aunt Ida would just whisper, "You know, dear, this isn't such a good idea." Ever since Chris died, Aunt Ida was hanging around more and more. While Alex observed the party from his bubble vantage point, he heard Aunt Ida say, "It's time to go home, dear. Someone is going to get hurt." She was usually correct. "You're right, Auntie, and I know who," he thought. Alex scanned the crowd for Martin. Just then, a beer bottle shattered on the marble floor of the crypt, waking Alex out of what felt like a nightmare. Everyone laughed, and some guy in a muscle tee made the music louder. That's when he lost it. He marched over to the guy and shoved him. "Get out!" Alex raised his hand and punched the stranger hard across the face. He was about to strike again when suddenly someone held him back. He spun around to see it was Martin. "Are you kidding me? Let go of my arm." "You better let go, or I'll knock you out too." His voice silenced the entire gathering. A sea of shocked faces stared at him. He wrenched his arm away from Martin. The guy who was the victim of the attack had an expression of fear and confusion. "I don't know you," Alex shouted at him. He looked at all the faces in the crowd. "I don't know any of you." When he was backing out, a piece of broken glass pierced right through his slide. It hurt like hell, but he still made a clean exit. As he ran, his mind was a blur. Anger dulled the pain in his foot and pushed him toward home. Alex quietly limped up the stairs into his room, sunk into the chair, and pulled the table lamp closer to get a better look at his foot. Time to assess the damage, he thought. Ugh. He squeezed his eyes shut, tears streaming hard. There was still a small shard of glass stuck in his heel. He took a deep breath and pulled it out. A gush of blood dripped down right onto the rug. "Oh, no, no, no," he whispered as he searched for something to clean it. He grabbed a handful of tissues, bent over the spot, and frantically scrubbed the area. He winced as a spark of static electricity shocked his hand, and he instinctively pulled it back. Then, suddenly from the spot, a little dust devil spun up. What the? He fell backward, hitting his head on the night table, almost toppling the lamp. Am I hallucinating? What is that? He blinked in disbelief, but still his eyes confirmed it. There was a mini tornado rising from the rug. He coughed and swiped at the air. He quickly moved to the window and flung it open, letting in a gust of fresh night air. A strong breeze blew in, lifting the gauzy curtains, but it had no effect on the strange cloud that was now rapidly filling the room. He wanted to cry out, but his voice was gone. It was as if this cloud was stealing or feeding off the oxygen in the room. He began to feel dizzy and finally succumbed to it. When he woke, he was lying on the floor near the bed. His entire room was dark, lit only by the faint light of the moon, a glowing distant pearl. Was it a strange dream, he thought? There was an odd silence in the air, and the room was still, filled with a fine mist. He touched a surface to feel the strange dew that had formed on everything. "What is this?" he mumbled to himself. Out of the darkness, a voice answered. "It's water."